All right. Welcome, everyone, to episode 44 of the SnapCast podcast with your hosts, Brad O'Brien.
Yo.
And Mike Cooley.
Homie.
Now, for those of you who don't know, this is a Magic the Gathering podcast where we talk about Magic and Magic-related things. And I'll tell you, we're geared towards the competitive Magic player with a casual interest in finance. A filthy casual interest in finance, if you will.
Like if you just wanted to learn it all yourself from scratch the hard way.
Right, and you wanted to sacrifice a lot of yourself in doing so.
Right, you can either spend time or you can spend money.
Exactly. And if you're into the latter, you've found the right place. Welcome. Welcome.
Spend some time with us.
Exactly. You found some good comrades here. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to everyone who subbed this week, showing us some support.
Sorry.
By the way, no, this is good. Keep this going. We got to let our listeners know, for the new people that have joined us, this crazy good jam that you hear in the background here, this ain't just what that Cooley guy does over on his YouTube. This ain't no, like, free, royalty-free shit you find on YouTube. This is genuine, no royalties needed, original creation by Brad O'Brien.
And with the good help of my friends George Leonard and Austin Andrews from the Geo Trio in Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah, man, very talented young man you have right here to my left or right, depending on however this shit's mirrored when it goes online. But yeah, we got some stuff to talk about in the Magic world this week.
Because we're not going to talk about politics?
Yeah, I guess we got to stay away from that one. But, okay, so I was thrilled to hear that they have announced a new secret lair.
Where are you?
Right? Yeah. I mean, didn't they haven't even really finished out riding the coattails from The Walking Dead yet, have they? And now
Have you gotten yours yet?
Well, no. I mean, I probably have. I asked for it from a lot of people for my Christmas wish list, so maybe.
That's interesting, man. I need to exploit my family from my investment portfolio.
Exactly. It plays a key factor in maintaining wealth is never losing anything.
Actually, it is kind of brilliant to tell people, this is the thing that I would like. If you're going to buy me bullshit anyway, here's something I would actually like, and it's only available this week, and you can get my Christmas shopping done.
Exactly.
That is some EV, sir.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. And it's no skin off their back. They get their Christmas shopping done far ahead of time. They were going to spend like $40-$50 on you anyway. So it's like, and now my magical investment was a couple of words to some kind family members. And any price that those Magic cards go up to now, pure profit for me.
That is good, solid EV.
But yeah, so this new secret lair they're coming out with, man, has some pretty insane cards that they've leaked so far. That's not a full list of them, I can't imagine.
That's it.
But yeah, they have a pretty solid leak here for 4 cards. We're gonna show you those in a minute.
That's all of them.
And that's all of them? That's all that are in
That's what you get in the box.
Oh, wow. Jesus. Yeah, still, that's worth it, man. I was going to say, just in those 4 cards alone, it's probably worth the price. Well, it's good. Yeah, so we'll show you off what those are right here. So, top of the list, over here, you can see, the card everyone's going to buy this for. Teferi's Protection, dude. This was originally printed in one of those Commander sets, and it was a pretty hot topic. Even going up as high as like $50 or $60 itself at one point in history. Then it caught a recent reprint, and that brought it down to like $40. But it's still pretty expensive, man. So yeah, that one's in there. Foil. It's got that nice little like comet symbol on it. It's just so beautiful. These are all going to be in foil.
Yeah. So these right now, even the mystery booster printing, market price is $35. So this is WOTC spinning this as a fundraiser for Children's Hospital in Seattle, the Extra Life Hospital. It's awesome. It's going to be $60 for 4 cards. So if I told you right now that you could have a Teferi's Protection for $15, you'd be pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
If I told you it was an alt art foil, how would you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about all that fancy jargon. I just care about the card. I mean, the card value alone, we're looking at like $35, $36 right here. Like that's pretty good.
Now, every time so this is one of those sort of MTG finance basics that most people talk about, or most people know, but we don't talk about explicitly very often. But whenever you see a card, like what was the red recruiter?
Imperial Recruiter.
Imperial Recruiter was a stupidly valuable card because it was so rare. And then when it was reprinted, everybody thought, well, this is a stupidly valuable card. But then it wasn't.
Right.
Because it had been reprinted. So Teferi's Protection is getting another printing. It may not be $35. What's it going to go down to? 30?
Right.
25?
Right.
This version?
Yeah. And here's the thing about all of these cards is they're staples in a lot of formats.
Yeah.
Like it isn't like they're just random cards that they're throwing in there. Like if in comparison, if you look at like the Walking Dead that they did, a lot of those cards are just dead. They're the Walking Dead. They're not going to really be played in much, even in Commander, you know what I mean? Maybe some of them, but like Rick Grimes was the card, you know what I mean? There was really one that was very playable, very nice. The rest were just collector's value, which I can appreciate either way. However, all four of these cards are like playable cards in different formats. I mean, Teferi's Protection is very playable in Commander, obviously, but also that could be playable in some Eternal formats. Can you imagine they bring that to like Historic or something? Like, you know what I mean? It's already playable in Legacy.
Oof.
You know what I mean? Like that card is playable in Legacy. It's also
playable
in Vintage. Like, it's and by playable I mean it might not be seeing a lot of play yet there, but don't let it fool you. Like that card is vicious. Like that's a vicious card that they printed there. But regardless, it's a big staple in Commander. And, for that, I'm sure a lot of people are grateful that it's getting a reprint here.
How about for our modern folks?
Dude, wow, you got two modern staples in this right here. Two big modern staples. So you have Amulet of Vigor, which, just a great card. I'm sure you're familiar with that if you've ever played up against any of the, what do you call them? Like the Titan decks. You know what I mean?
If you've ever played against GB.
Yeah, if you ever played against GB, I believe they actually call them amulet decks. I
thought you were going to say, I actually think they call them GB decks.
They actually do. But yeah, this card is like a centerpiece to those types of decks. The namesake of the deck, Amulet of Vigor, very powerful card. 1-drop mana, one mana artifact with just a nasty ability, dude.
Whenever a permanent enters the battlefield tapped and under your control, untap it.
Yeah.
Permanent. So obviously the amulet decks that we think of exploit this with lands, bounce lands, the Karoo lands or whatever, but this is one of those open-ended cards. Like if they print a 12/12 something haste that comes in tapped.
Yeah.
So, for 2. Somebody's going to want to go Amulet of Vigor on 1, that on 2.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Exile Simeon Spirit Guide Fling.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff that you could do. You know what I mean? There's just so much at your disposal with this card. But yeah, I'm happy it's catching a reprint.
So regular printings of this right now, non-foil, about $15.
Wow. So let's talk about that for a minute. In these two cards, you've technically got present value right now.
Present value, exactly.
Of $50. So like. And you have to take this into account too. Yes, they are being reprinted, right? But like their standpoint on this is, if they weren't reprinted, they would be this price, and you would pay these for, you'd pay that price for them anyway. So it's one of those things where they might go down in value a bit, but at the same time, like at present value, that's a pretty good deal. And then of course we mentioned the second staple in Commander here. They're also making...
You going for the second Commander staple or the second modern staple?
Modern staple, sorry. The notoriously nasty, like the alliteration I did there, the notoriously nasty Collected Company. I tried to match the alliteration of Collected Company with something there. There was a point to how I was phrasing that. But the notoriously nasty Collected Company. I should have gone with 2 C's, but... Either way, nasty card, dude. They're reprinting it.
Crisp
alt
and
art,
clean
foil,
Collected Company.
Crispy, clean, Krispy Kreme Collected Company. Alt art, foil, little comet symbol there. And this card's just nasty too. In case you're not familiar, this just says for 4 mana, it's an instant. And you look at the top 6 cards of your library and bring in 2 creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less from among them. Put them onto the battlefield.
And
Stupid.
There is a theme between all of these arts. They are all original arts for these that involve a child in some way. So in this one, if you haven't seen the art, it's a Johnny standing with a bunch of soldiers, but with a couple of cubs playing in the background, and he's patting a little cub child on the top of the head.
Oh, that's because of the fundraiser thing.
Exactly.
Oh, that's creative. WOTC. What's the one behind Amulet of Vigor then? What's going on with that? Just
so
a
that's
child.
a child wearing the Amulet of Vigor.
Oh, wow,
Like,
that's cool.
been given the gift or something, and they're looking at it. And this is Teferi with Niambi.
That's actually a legitimate.
Well,
magic
that's right, legitimate magic character, and Teferi's daughter was a character in War of the Spark.
No, what? I didn't know that. See, filthy casual over here, not following the lore. Wow, that's cool. I really like how they did
so
that.
Collected Company, the regular original printing non-foils are about $10, but those original foils are like $25.
Oh, yeah.
If you want a near mint, you're not getting it shipped to you for less than $27.
Right. So you've already exceeded the present value of these cards. I mean, even if you don't bring, let's not even bring foils into it, because like these are all going to be foils. So let's just assume, right? Let's just take that out of the equation.
Compare them to their non-foil.
Right. Compare them to their non-foil. You're still at $60 already with the 3 cards that we talked about.
As compared to their non-foil present values.
Non-foil present value. Don't even think about foil present value, because it gets even greater at that point. Some of them don't even exist in foil, but or at least didn't at one point in time. I don't know about Teferi's Protection. Does that exist in foil?
Now that's interesting. Let's look at that again, but we'll go back to that. Let's just hit Consecrated Sphinx.
Let's hit the final one right here. Another Commander staple, Consecrated Sphinx. This card, a lot of people knew it was really good when it was printed. It was down really low at one point in its life, like maybe $5-6. But now you'd be lucky to find it for that. You'd have to buy it in a massive collection where someone overlooked it or something. Because these go for about $30-31. Very expensive card. So if you just look at that non-foil counterpart, you're getting $30 value right there just by buying the secret layer. I think it's a good printing, man.
So Teferi's Protection was originally printed in Commander 2017, non-foil. It was included in the Mystery Booster box, also in non-foil.
This is the first foil printing of Teferi's Protection. So this is actually not going to drop in price at all. I can almost guarantee it.
So that one card price is probably not going to be impacted by the foil.
Right. Yep. So that's just amazing. Very well done.
So, side tangent. I want to stay on this Secret Lair stuff, but I also want to talk about, because I mentioned to you that this past weekend they had online Eternal Weekend on MTGO, where you could play Legacy or Vintage, and your entry to the event got you a God account with WOTC for Moto from like the Thursday. I think it was might have even been a full week. From Wednesday before to Wednesday after, you had access to every card on Moto. You could play full copies. You can play any deck you want.
Nasty.
You can make any deck you want.
Nasty. I never played Magic the Gathering online much, but I'm curious. Could you trade those cards?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, market exploit.
I love that this is always where your brain goes, which is how can I F the system?
Exactly.
What's my end? How do I get my piece? But no, they were not tradable Magic objects. Although we never did get into that discussion about Magic Online being a cryptocurrency.
Oh, no. Yep.
We didn't have time for that a couple of weeks ago. We'll see if we get bored later. But I bring that up because that's WOTC dipping their toes into a subscription model where you could just pay a certain amount every month and play all the Magic cards you ever want.
Right.
And the thing is on Moto, people do that now. There are tons of services that will let you rent Moto cards at like 10% of the value.
Wow.
So you can rent a deck, play for the weekend, ship it back. You know, you maybe pay between $5 and $15 a month to have access to a certain value spread of cards. WOTC could just cut out the middleman. Do we have any evidence of them doing that in paper?
I'm going to let you get in for the close-up here. For our listeners, Brad is getting awkwardly close to the cameras.
Can I interest you in direct from WOTC, never before printed in foil, to Fairies Protection?
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're going with it. Like, I mean, they're touching into a whole different model of business.
Did you like From the Vaults?
Yeah, I did.
I bet Sean did too.
Oh, yeah? Why? Because they're probably ridiculous in price right now and he kept some unopened?
No, because WOTC sent them to Sean is our local game store owner. Mm-hmm. WOTC said, here's a From the Vault for $30. And Sean could say, here's From the Vault, $100.
Yep.
Now WOTC has said, wait a minute. Why would I do that? We can just sell it straight to Cooley for $60. Here's your 5 Walking Dead cards for $50, or here's your 4 Modern Commander cards for $60.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's true where they're relying more on their LGSs now to hold events than they are to actually sell cards for them, because they don't make anything in the back end of that. But at the same time, dude, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's the model they want to get into. Like, they cutting out the middleman. Like, think of it this way.
Tell me how they don't.
Well, I mean, it's what I'm saying is I know it's financially feasible for them to do it. But what I mean is it's going to be hard to keep a shop open if you don't allow them to kind of make the profits that they want off from your product. So it's going to be, if you're relying on them for events, then it's going to be hard to do that, if you scare them away.
But are they relying on them for events?
They might not be anymore, and that's could speak to the future of LGSs.
Yeah.
Now look at this. You turned us down a dark road where now people are going to have to start thinking about losing their LGSs. That's just the hard truth.
Well, I mean, there are already LGSs going under as it is. Let's see. Whereas I'm trying to find the WOTC page because apparently they just made a new announcement that they are canceling everything until January.
Jeez.
Which they keep pushing it back like 3 months at a time.
Do you think, and this is really next level, like conspiracy theory shit.
Yeah.
You see a lot of places opening back up.
Oh,
You see a lot of places really taking a shot to try to get back in the game with what they do.
Yep.
Now, while I understand it's different with Magic the Gathering, do you think that WOTC could possibly be using this situation to switch away from their reliance or their obligation to LGSs and just saying, hey, we're going to cancel all these events. And guess what? Now we're going to try to move everything online with Arena, with Magic Online. And before you know it, if it goes on long enough and a lot of LGSs can't stand up, then suddenly they don't need to rely on them and they don't need to kind of respect them as much anymore. I know that's next level, and some people are like, oh, no, you can't. You got to give WOTC some credit. That's giving them some pretty good credit for, like, taking advantage of next level shit in a crisis.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't put it past any corporation in this or probably any country that they would do what was in their best interests for the long term. What I'm afraid of is more and more likely that businesses will make whatever the best decision is for the short term. I think that the game stores have been what has, because of the community, the gathering for Magic the Gathering, that is what has made it a game that can last 25 years and still be growing.
Yeah.
And still have like Netflix franchises being discussed and new products coming out and a second online digital client. Like,
Right. But
it's because there's a community behind it. So if you, right, I think that they could exploit the opportunity
right.
to sort of leverage stores out of being necessary.
Right.
But I think that's shooting themselves in the foot
Well,
at
it
the
could
start
be.
of a race
It
or at
could
the end
be.
of a race.
But maybe it's not. Think about it this way, right? What have you heard a lot of, higher ups at WOTC talk about was the biggest mistake they ever made in the history of the existence
Homelands?
of Magics. Yeah, there was that. There was that, right? But also, it's this reserved list, right? And although Tolarian Academy put out a very good video on why they should reprint things and they shouldn't be scared of lawsuits, why wouldn't you just cover all your bases and be like, all right, so the biggest people that can actually muster up the balls to sue us over here would probably be LGSs. So if we have this secret plan in place to reprint things that we shouldn't be able to reprint, and suddenly a lot of LGSs just go out of business anyway due to surrounding circumstances, who's to say that in a few years they're not just like, all right, now there's far less LGSs. Guess what? This reserve list thing is not a thing anymore. We're going to print Black Lotuses. We're going to print the Moxen, the dual lands, and we're going to sell them all in these secret layers. And guess what? They're only going to be $150. You know what I mean? And now you don't have a lot of people, you don't have a lot of LGSs that are going to be up in arms because they're not in business anymore.
Well, so I'm going to keep playing the advocate of the devil.
Please.
What will happen is what happens in most industries is consolidation. So the small LGS, your FLGS, your friendly local game store, they probably, if they haven't already found a way to be functional in the current state, they're not going to make it. If they count on events and Magic sales, they're probably not going to make it. The shops that are bigger and the bigger card vendors, like your typical GP vendors, Channel Fireball and Star City and 9 to 5 and Card Kingdom and Magic Card Market, those places. Who's another one? Why can I not think of Evan Irwin's shop there? They've got like 7 of them in Florida. Anyway.
Oh, yep.
Those guys are just going to scoop up the inventory from all of the smaller fish.
True.
And so then they're whales. So they don't make their bank moving high-end vintage.
All right, so
if WotC decides to reprint Black Lotus, they're like, that's fine.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Like, I would completely agree. So I think you're not necessarily playing devil's advocate. It's kind of like more abates the point here. Like, you have a bigger entity that they don't necessarily care about that. They probably profit off of it just as much. But also, here's the other thing that you don't have to worry about when you do that, right? If you piss off like 10,000 LGSs, then suddenly you have a class action lawsuit. But if you piss off one whale of an LGS, you have one lawsuit that now you don't have to worry about costing yourself years and years of legal process for this, all to determine that you're right. Like, it's a promissory estoppel, as Tolarian Academy put it. It is correct. They can do it. They've only made a promise, and you have to prove that they've caused you monetary harm by breaking the promise. And it's very hard to prove in the first place, but it's even easier to beat that if you only have to do it to one entity that has eaten up tons of stores, and you're just like, oh, that's great. What did you buy that Black Lotus at? Oh, okay, you bought a store that included the Black Lotus, so you can't really say how much you got it for. You know what I mean? Like, you bought, like, all of this. Did you sell it? Oh, you haven't sold it. So it didn't sell. How many did you sell when we reprinted it? Oh, you sold a whole bunch? Looks like we made you some money. You know what I mean? It's an easier argument to make, like, to go on the other side. That's all I'm saying.
So if WotC started printing $150 Black Lotuses tomorrow, how would you feel about it as a Magic player that owns a Lotus?
Oh, I wouldn't feel great about it. But do I have any grounds to sue WotC? No, I do not. Like, but I could, because we live in America and I can do whatever the hell I want.
Litigious society, sure.
Right. But you know what I mean? That's the thing. Like, I think that
it
could be.
We've got comments and they're not showing up.
Oh, what?
Hey, Tech4. I don't think they would be pushing all these card variants and secret layers if they wanted paper Magic to die. The problem is that no one will want to play paper Magic if it doesn't exist. Well,
right. I don't think they want it to die, but I'm just saying, like, I think they're going to profit more off from direct sales to customers who are playing tabletop Magic, who are playing Commander, who are playing, who are playing against each other. Maybe they go to these competitive events that are just huge, that are put on by like Star City Games or TCG. Like, there's still be that going around, but there's just bigger entities that you're dealing with and less entities that you're dealing with.
Yeah. And that, so I know you said it's almost sounded like I was not playing devil's advocate, but I think if you had, I don't know why I can't think of the goddamn name of that shop, that there's Channel Fireball, Cool Stuff Inc., Magic Card Market, Frog and Toad. Like, there are these huge vendors, 9 to 5 MTG, people that deal with hundreds of thousands of dollars of cards. Yes, you might see a lot of small mom and pop friendly local LGSs go out of business, but I think that those are the heavy hitters that will lean on WOTC. Now, I am also of the belief simultaneously that they're not going to be hurt by a Black Lotus print, again, because the majority of what they sell are $2, $3, $8 cards. They always say when the fetch lands get up to $50, you can only sell a couple a month. But when they're down at 20, they can sell hundreds.
Right. And also, Kawa brings up a good point, too, that like it kind of suggests that they might be shifting towards this digital, what you were talking about, like experimenting with Magic Online, making that a subscription service where you get all the cards that you want. You know what I mean? Because let's be serious. This is very anecdotal, but if I'm being serious, I'm being real with you guys, and I'm telling you something, this is why I never played MTGO, because Cockatrice existed. That's exactly why I never played MTGO, because all I wanted from a digital Magic platform was the ability to play any card I ever wanted and test out decks that I couldn't afford. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, great. If you would tell me...
I did the same thing with X-Mage.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there was a couple of other platforms out there you could do the same thing, and that's why I personally never got into Magic Online. However, like, some people looked at it as though, like, oh, okay, well, it's a different way to play, but I can also, I'm not losing my money because all my cards are worth something. But if they scratch that, they could just go completely subscription service. I think that's a good move for them. It'll ensure that MTGO doesn't die. Like,
absolutely.
It's the best service I think that could possibly be for that program, if I'm being real.
But they also have this, okay, so they don't have a spoken... What was it? Promissory what?
Promissory estoppel. It just means I made you a promise.
Promissory estoppel. Right now, the MTGO economy is an economy. So I just want to talk about this for a brief second, because I actually wanted to talk about this a couple of weeks ago. I was doing some learning up on them cryptocurrencies, and we could probably bring Charlie in to give us a solid lesson on it.
Find out, he goes to school for that stuff.
But the thing that I found I'm always looking for the most meta perspective I can understand, because that's how you simplify something and it's still useful. And I heard it explained that cryptocurrencies are a way to hold and create value by uniqueness in an electronic domain.
Right.
Because when the internet proliferated, sort of, so to speak, and became popular, what people loved about it was the opposite. It made a unique thing not unique. Because you could have one MP3, I could record one song, I could, record the intro to this thing, put it up on my website, and 1 billion people could hear it.
And now, instead of me having to buy your CD for $17, I can just go on Napster and download this for free.
And so why do you think nobody wants to buy a goddamn song anymore? Because they understand there isn't a value in something that you can just duplicate.
Right.
So I can create one blog page and 1 billion people could read it. I don't have to print 1 billion flyers.
So where you're going with this is that the uniqueness in the internet exists in certain places.
In very few places.
Yes.
Right. So, and with cryptocurrency, one of the things that you are getting is this is a unique, this blockchain record of account is unique in all creation. You can divide it up a billion times, but it is a billion divisions of this unique thing that will not ever be recreated. That creating value out of scarcity versus creating value out of excess is a total flip of the head of digital.
Oh, what? Yo, Charlie, you got to come on and show everybody.
You can at least wave to everybody. If you're going to drop off cookies, you can at least wave.
Yeah, look at this. You made us some chocolate chip cookies.
I was making cookies already, so I tossed them.
So then,
holy hell.
They're not just for us.
He did them just for us. You heard it here. Thanks, dude.
So, now people, maybe one of us should have eaten them at a time.
Nah, we gotta. Our listeners are probably like,
oh, they're warm, gooey.
Oh man,
chocolate chip cookies. I'm sorry, you guys.
No,
I'm sorry, I can't share these with you.
But look, I know where you're going. It's like that scarcity. So the cryptocurrency, the reason that was ever worth something is because there was a set amount of bitcoins that would ever be created, and at that time, that was kind of what it was. It was prefaced on.
It's right. You have created a unique thing that won't be duplicated.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it holds value. On Modo, you basically have the same thing, but the value that's given to a card is based on its playability, not just on its scarcity.
Right.
But WOTC knows exactly how many copies of Black Lotus exist on Modo. It is a fixed number.
And it makes those cards worth something.
Right. The playability, the desirability, and the uniqueness of it, that it exists as a unique digital object. Right? Now, I'm not saying people, obviously, Modo can probably be hacked.
Oh, yeah.
There's probably a way where you could hack your account and give yourself 4 Black Lotuses or whatever you wanted.
I would be trying to do that.
It is very interesting. So that promissory stoppage or whatever, that blockage, that anal blockage.
Your incorrect pronunciation of that was very malappropriate. I like it.
Thank you. Is that people have bought into Modo and those cards because they are unique digital objects. It is still a collectible card game in an electronic version. Right. There are only so many copies of Teferi's Protection in Magic Online economy.
And you want to talk about promissory estoppel, right? They never promised that would always be the case. Like, they never did. In fact, they promised just the opposite. If you go look at the reserve list, they're just like, by the way, we can print whatever the hell we want online. I mean, it basically says that. It's just like, don't look at this like some sort of investment. You don't even own this property. It's all ours. Like,
and yet whole cottage industries have cropped up around supporting that product.
Right.
So one of the things that people really got scared of when Arena was announced was that they were going to sunset Modo. And a lot of people talked about how they would go about doing that. Like, they're not just going to flip a switch and Modo doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So on the day that they do say Modo has a year left to live, or Modo has 6 months before we go to a subscription-only model, you're going to see Black Monday and the market will crash.
Yeah, the magic market.
Infinite availability of packs to purchase, correct. But they know every time that they know how many cards are on there at any given second.
Right, right. Like, it very well could be that, like, you crack a new card randomly, but it's added to some ticker somewhere that's just like, yep, this many Black Lotuses are out there. And in paper it's limited. Like, that's exactly the point. Like, it's the...
Well, so here's the thing on Arena. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can you can craft a new card anytime you want. You can even craft a Black Lotus on Arena.
You can now?
I don't know. Well, they had them on there for an event, so I imagine it's in the system. I don't know where you'd play it.
That'd be great.
But yes, on Arena, you can craft as many cards into existence. WOTC, yes, they generate packs. Those packs have a drop rate. So many of those cards will be on there, but they control how many. You can't just go on and create a new one out of the blue. Somebody would have to crack the packs
Right.
that is required to get another copy of that card into the economy.
Exactly. And then you'd have to like trade for it or buy it or, whatever.
Which I think could be a correlated
Yeah.
thing to Bitcoin mining, which is the computers that keep track of BitChain.
There's some sort of complicated
blockchain
algorithm,
transactions.
but I could be misquoting it. I don't want to go on about it too much because I could be way off about it. But I think it's the first person to ever get the correct record on any transaction gets a Bitcoin. Like, you know what I mean? Like if your computer system is the first one to post to the server and it is the 100% correct record of everything and it's verified by so many other records, it's like, yep, you get it. Nice job. Thanks for staying up safe. That's how they encourage live updates of how many Bitcoins people have so that you can't hack it and be like, all right, in this split second, what I'm going to do is change my Bitcoins, post it. You know what I mean? And then somehow
I think you're right.
Get a ton of people to agree with me.
We're probably going over the edge of the waterfall of what either of us know about it.
Yep.
But understanding that the reason why those Bitcoins have value is because of their uniqueness in existence.
Yep.
And that Moto as digital objects, at any given time, there are only so many of each card in existence, is kind of a cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And people do play the Moto market the same way, we talk about speculating on cards.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, like for both of those reasons, right? For the fact that like, they gain their value on Magic Online for their scarcity, but also for these two reasons. They could move to that model, subscription only service, right? But also they've made no promise to not reprint certain cards on Moto. Bit of investment advice today. Don't invest cards in MTGO. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, there's businesses out there that kind of specialize in that, and I don't get it. Like, it's a weak business model, because this could go downhill within the next few years, man. Like, and I don't mean for Wizards. Wizards will always win out on it, but like, it could go down for the people that are kind of putting stock in that, in individual card prices, because unlike a cryptocurrency, they haven't really made any promises that they won't do that sort of stuff.
Well, I keep saying it, but the next, I wish we could have some goddamn events. I wish we could have some SCG opens. Because I want humans to spike a weekend so that I can sell my humans on Moto for what I paid for it. But until that comes, people pay $100 for a friggin' board game. You know what I mean? So
us humans do some really weird things in our leisure time.
People spend $1,000 on golf clubs.
Right.
I guess for the amount of fun that I've gotten out of my humans deck on Moto, I can't complain about it if it just went poof. Yeah. But I love the idea that I could have played with it for however long and get out and break even.
Right. It's a good thought, man. So we're coming up on 40 minutes into this cast, and we have to set aside some time to talk about the
blacklist that Kawa sent. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, that too.
No. I don't want to talk about the mono black colorless.
We got to talk about these new metas, man. So I'm not sure if you guys are playing MTGA and checking out the new decks that have popped up as a result of the recent bannings, but holy shit, man, there's some pretty crazy ones out there. Like this is probably one of the most diverse standard metagames I've personally ever seen.
It's pretty damn good.
I mean, usually you have like 2 or 3 decks that are the front runners.
Let's see.
And you got some other meta breakers in there. But like this new metagame is insane. Like there is a lot of different decks in there. So Brad's trolling through a mono green aggro deck right now. Let's take a broader look real quick.
This took first place in the standard challenge that happened on the 18th. Mm-hmm. Broader look at what? Oh, you want to look at?
Yeah, just go look at like standard in general. So look at this shit, dude. So mono green is obviously a big deck right now. It's like one of the most played decks. But right next to that, you have Rakdos aggro. You have Red Deck Wins, Adventure, Gruul Aggro, like, and all of them are pretty comparable. Usually what you see, and what I mean by that is the number of decks that people are running of that archetype. You know, you see usually a pretty steep divide between even just the first and second most played deck. You know what I mean? You might see, like, Uro.deck, for example, was split into a couple different archetypes.
Look down on the control archetype.
Yeah.
You go from 21 to 14 to 5.
Right.
Control is still 50%
expect.
of the meta, but it's... No, this is interesting because this still has Omnath Ramp as number 1, and that's
been
banned
because
for a week.
Well, no, it's because it's looking at the last 2 months. So, so it's actually less... It's actually more diverse than that. So if you go, 2 weeks, look at this, dude. Like, this is pretty broken up. Like, even in those top...
Jeez.
Like, even in those top, 10 aggro decks there, you have a pretty good break. And the reason you're seeing down in the control section here, you're still seeing this stuff, is because not many control decks have popped up. Like, it's all very aggressive right now, but it's all different variations of aggro, which I think is kind of what they want from these games. They want you to play, fun and exciting games with some control in there that you have to worry about. But you guys remember me talking about this a couple weeks ago. I fucking hated playing Magic Arena when I stepped back onto it a couple of weeks ago. This is before Omnath was banned. And it was because it was all control decks. Like, I'd go in and it's like everything's permission. Every turn takes forever because there's a million things to do with Clover and the new artifact that lets you scry or draw, and I'm not saying that card's busted, but there's just so many cards that called for so many decisions that encouraged control decks and very crafty decks to be out there that just took up a lot of time. And were very, very unforgiving if you made a mistake. So I don't particularly enjoy playing that type of Magic, especially if let's say I'm a new player on Arena or something. I can't even imagine. You start doing really well, and then you run into that, and it's you become a better Magic player eventually, but it ain't fun in the meantime.
This is one of my least favorite decks to play against on Arena right now. This is blue-white Urion.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Azorius Blink.
Urion's still a thing.
Yeah.
Good old companion.
So 1 in the side, 3 in the main. We have Charming Princes to blink, Illyrios and Raptured, which criminally underplayed, but everything in this set is so goddamn powerful. Glasspool Mimic, actually my pick of the week. My snap this up.
Oh, what is that again? Pop it up.
So it's a bad Phantasmal Image or a tapped blue land.
Oh, wow.
So you can play it as a tapped blue land, or it's a 3-mana clone of a creature you have on the battlefield.
Comes a rogue and a shapeshifter?
Yeah.
Wow.
So you can come in and clone your Skyclave Apparitions, your Solemns, your Thassa. Not that you'd want to clone a legend, I understand. Charming Prince, I saw this played in a Commander game the other day. Of course, the guy first tried to copy somebody else's thing, and I'm like, no, as a human player, I can tell you, it don't work that way. If this copied anything on the board, humans might have considered one.
Right.
But that's neither here nor there. But I think
you've already done your research on this one.
Well, like I said, it's sort of my pick for this week because I don't think it's going to get much cheaper than a couple of bucks.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. I really love these flip land cards. I think they're really, really efficient.
Dude, if you want to just dabble for a split second into their MTG Goldfish finance page and look at the top movers in price, land, the 3-mana exile a permanent, flip land.
Oh, wow.
Wait
a minute. Go back to that. Can you exile one of those lands and have it come back as its...
No.
Oh, okay.
So the exit ability on this puts a blue illusion creature token that has the same CMC. So if you exile a 4-mana permanent, they'll get a 4/4 illusion. which is interesting, right? So they never, this totally does get rid of Blood Moon forever. This totally does get rid of a lot of problem permanents permanently.
Mm-hmm. Question though, I don't know how this works. I'm going to throw
Hold on.
Yeah.
1 land, 2 land, 3 land, 4 land, 5 land, 6 land, 7 dual lands out of this daily movers.
And the Dryad there has something to do with lands. Right, exactly. So here's a question. I'm going to throw it out there. Any listener that knows what's going on and knows the answer to this, please let us know. But I don't know how this works. Okay, maybe you do. Maybe you can set me straight right here. I play a flip land. I play this copy guy as a flipped, tapped blue land.
Mm-hmm.
Then I play Felidar Guardian, and I choose to target that tapped land and blink it. So I blink it. Can I choose for it to come back in as the creature?
Yes, because the front of the card is a creature.
Oh, but if the front was a land, it would come in as a land.
Correct.
So you're telling me that this card can be cheated into play? Oh my god.
Oh yeah, people have already messed with this.
Oh wow.
There's only a couple of these that are creatures, but you can flicker wisp them. You can anything that will actually blink the land, you can turn your lands into creatures. So
that is genius.
You can start early on in the game just playing these as tap lands, so you make your land drops. In the late game, start blinking them.
Wow.
Looking at the weekly change, Skyclave. This is getting huge play in Modern and in Pioneer and in Standard.
All right, so what does this do? I got a basic look at it. So this is how it reads. It's a 2/2 for 2 white and a colorless, so 3 mana. And it says, when it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. When it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner creates an XX blue illusion creature token where X is the converted mana cost. Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, it's just permanent removal in white for anything 4 of.
And if they remove it, they get a creature that hopefully the power and toughness is worth what you just exiled. Oh god, that's so good. That's like a what do you call it? The dude, the flash dude that exiles a spell.
Teferi?
No, the creature. the spirit. He's a spirit. What is he?
Spell Queller.
Yes, Spell Queller.
Yeah.
It's like this guy, but on the other end of it, he removes a permanent, and they really never get it back.
A spirit. So keep your vial on 3.
Oh man.
And do what you need to do. One of the things that I wanted to point out on here, and
Skyclave is gas.
Skyclave is gas. In what's been going up over the last week, land, Great Henge Croxa, land, commander card.
Yep. Wow.
The Great Henge is going up in the week. It's going up in the day. I think that this card is a trap, and I really want one. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but this seems like
$30.
exactly the kind of card that they would put 1 or 2 of in one of those standard challenger decks.
Yes.
To make people go, holy crap, dude, that challenger deck has a great engine.
Oh, yeah. The good old pump and dump. Thanks to WOTC, Wizards of the Coast. This is the great pump and dump right here. They're going to pump the price of it and dump it in one of those reprint sets. Sell some product.
To be fair, Brazen Borrow has still kept some value. Like, it didn't tank from the copy that's in the challenger deck. But my thinking is, I really want a Great Henge for my collection. I'm not going to buy one right now at $30 because I am supremely confident that it's going to get a reprint.
Yeah, I mean, practically any card over $30 does. That is, you know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of the pattern these days. Like, if the card starts getting pretty expensive, Wizards is more inclined to just reprint it. They make some money off of that. That's why you see these secret layers being sold for $60. They printed 4 pieces of cardboard. They get $60 off that. They can't directly acknowledge the secondary market, but I can tell you they can sure as hell think about it when they print these cards. And I think that's you're right. That is a prime target for a reprint. Like, prime.
So, I think Glasspool Mimic, if you just want to have copies in your collection to play, I think the regular pack version for $2 is a hell of a deal. I think you can get the double-sided Oh, I think you can get the double-sided full arts for not too bad of a. Let's see.
Oh, this has a double-sided full art version. Oh,
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
let's just go to TCG Player for a second.
Yep. Yeah. That is really cool, man. I do like the concept of that card. I like the fact that you can abuse it and that you can have it come in for free and blink it. Like, that just seems broken to me. I don't care what the card does. It's a permanent that can come in as a land where you don't have to pay its mana cost, and you can somehow blink it and get mad mana cost value out of it.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You can get the double-sided full art foils for around $5 or $6. If you're just going to get one for EDH, if you're going to get them from, like I said, you can get the regular pack version, not even the full art, for $2. You can get the full art non-foil for $3, and you can get the full art foil double-sided for under $6. Seems crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, yeah, this one's already gone up.
Oh, good call last week, man.
Thieving Skydiver, man. EDH Eternal staple, especially like as EDH gets lower CMC. Off topic, but I chuckled when I saw it. You have an Insta named Dingwall. I do?
What? I was wondering what the hell that was. I was like, what is... I'm trying to piece it together. You might have seen me staring off into outer space. I'm like, what the hell is Byron talking about?
So I had a base from the company Dingwall. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know, but that is a pretty funny word, and it would make me chuckle as well.
Yeah, Canadian company. They make fantastic fan fret fingerboard instruments.
Word.
I've already sold it.
Yeah, that's nasty though, dude. What was this card at when you called it last week? This version of it, like the extended art.
I wish I could tell you. Oh, you know what? I might be able to
Hey.
look at
Echo MTG with these little chart passes right here.
Thieving Skydiver extended art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not relying on this price.
Yeah, that seems. I remember it being pretty low. Like, well, then again, we might have... Oh, you sure we weren't looking at a different version? Like, were we looking at the... Last week, like the $2 regular version that you could have it? Even
well,
so...
that's the thing that I have been trying to do for other people's sake is, yes, I'm a foil junkie. I am a slut for foils.
Yes, you are.
And that's fine. Right now, because of the full art foils, you could have a massive standard card collection on the cheap. Same thing with the expeditions are making the rest of the cards in this set dirt cheap. Like looking at Zendikar Rising as a set, complete set value $700. The most expensive card in the set right now is $24.
The Ancient Green Warden.
I mean, obviously that's after Omnath dropped from $40 or whatever, but
Oh, poor Omnath. Can't catch a break.
Can't
even catch a couple months in standard. Poor guy.
Lithoform extended art's holding on. Agadeem's Awakening extended art holding on. That's such a good card, man.
I mean, that's all of these cards have something in common, is in that you can not only are they pretty decent in standard right now, but you can see them as being some pretty good staples in Commander as well. So yeah, for sure.
Well,
like it, dude.
I like the Secret Lair. It's probably another one that they'll get me to get a copy of. I'll probably get one because then I'll get one for that Teferi's Protection and piece out the other 3 cards.
Yeah. I think it's a good deal, man. Either way, I would say that's my snap that up of the week, right? Like if you're just looking,
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's
like,
value.
It's value if you don't even consider the fact that these cards are foiled. If you look at their non-foil counterparts, that's a pretty good buy. I mean, granted, it's not your penny stocks you're investing in here. It's like $60 worth of stuff, but at the same time, you get your value, and also in a world where reprints are so common these days, I feel like getting the most out of what you need in your collection right now is pretty good. And if you needed some of those cards in your collection, man, that's a pretty good time to get them. Especially that Teferi's Protection. That's like, kind of, it's been reprinted a couple times right now. They might hold off a while.
So, I'm getting ready for the purge of 2020.
The Purge? What is that box that you have over there? Brad just brought this like largely empty box of like tons of Magic sleeves onto the screen.
So it's a 5-row that a friend of mine picked up for me, and she's helping me sort. I have what's behind me looks cool and organized. What's off to the sides of this room are not organized. So we're set sorting, alphabetizing a bunch of these random cards to
Bulk
out, basically. Ooh. So my last financial tidbit for all of y'all for the day: if you want your Magic cards to be cheaper in general, sell them. If all of us rotten bastard hoarders flooded the market with cards, they'd be dirt cheap. Like,
I think that's a good idea, man. Like the way that I sort cards at home is this is literally what I do. I'll crack a pack, right? I'll walk you through the very basic. And I ask myself this every card that I see. I dream up every possible deck that I've ever thought to exist and that I've ever seen exist. And I'm like, could this card reasonably be used or abused in anything that I know of or could possibly theorize? And if the answer to that is no, I don't care if it's a rare or anything. I'm just like, bulk. Like, you can't abuse it. It's not usable. Bulk. I could be wrong about some of them. You know what I mean? But I'm okay with that. Like, just like Serum Visions at one point. I was like, yeah, bulk. Because at the time, Ponder was legal in Modern. And the other one, Preordain, was legal in Modern. And I'm just like, yeah, it's just never going to hold up to those cards. Like, peace. See you later. But like, those price of those cards are pretty low. They're pretty low at that point. 10 cents for that Serum Visions,
And so that's it. I'm putting, and I'm not doing it by myself because there's just too many cards, but just finding everything that has a buy list over 50 cents that is not part of my like absolute must-have Modern collection. Mm-hmm. Peace out.
Exactly, man. That's how you got to do it. It's for your own sanity too. Do you want to dig through like thousands and thousands of cards and the things that you're looking for? Keep the stuff that matters or that could matter, and just bulk the rest, man. Make the cards cheaper for everybody.
And that's it. You're doing. I listened to an interview with Matthew McConaughey, and he talked about doing this egocentric altruism, which is I'm going to do what I want. And if you do it right, the thing that you're doing for yourself can be the thing that's best for everyone else too.
Oh, that's a good theory, but I don't think a lot of people want to own up to it because of that nasty word in the front. But it's actually a good way to go about things. Like we could take that even all the way to politics and everything.
We started the very first sentence of this podcast was like, we're not going to talk about politics.
I know, that's why I went there. We're adding agreeable symmetry to this cast, but we won't go there again. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It helps us get into this YouTube algorithm and get our crazy rogue thoughts about Magic the Gathering out there in the universe. So
we did have some conspiracy theorizing going on there for a minute.
Man, that's how we do it. That's how we do. You ain't going to hear none of those popular, famous people talking about this stuff. This is real talk with you guys, and we appreciate you that you show up each week. We love interacting with you guys. Sorry that the chat wasn't popping up today, but we'll get that fixed for next week. It wouldn't be the SnapCast podcast without a glitch.
Without some technical error.
Exactly. So thank you guys so much. It was good seeing you guys. We'll catch you next week. Have a great weekend.
Peace.